Hello everyone, we are from Group 8. This is our group member, Margareta Maria, Ayu Syarifatul, Regina Levana, and Patricia Lintang. So we are gonna talk about cultural tolerance. And we divide it into 7 main sections. There are cultural tolerance, key to social harmony, what is tolerance, how to be culturally responsive, types of cultural tolerance, things to keep in mind, indicators of intolerance, and how to overcome intolerance. Cultural tolerance key to social harmony.
Culture and nature are related. As UNESCO Universal Declaration on Cultural Diversity says, cultural diversity is as necessary for humankind in biodiversity is for nature. Cultural diversity is fundamental to humans. Diverse Diverse culture not only makes society more robust and creative, but also help humans to better cope with change. Cultural pluralism promotes mutual cooperation and mutual respect among people of different countries, which are crucial for establishing peace and facilitating development across the world. Ignorance and or the fear of unfamiliar things lead to cultural intolerance, and ignorant and prejudiced people don't believe in mutual learning and see the world in black and white. Given that intolerance is a breeding ground for populism and ultranationalism, we, as members of the international community, should strengthen the dialogue and increase exchange between people of different cultures and civilization to disseminate the idea of cultural tolerance and inclusiveness. In this regard, religious leaders should play a leading role in removing religious prejudice and promoting the idea of peaceful coexistence among people of different faiths. Cultural inclusiveness and tolerance can play a crucial role in bringing closer people who speak different language, practice different religions, follow different customs, and believe in different values, and therefore promote harmony. Which means cultural inclusiveness and tolerance are crucial for hastening the integration of the international community and building a community with a shared future for humankind.
What is tolerance? What is tolerance? What is tolerance? What is tolerance is very important concept when learning to respect and accept other cultures. Generally speaking, tolerance is the recognition of the universal human rights and freedom of others. It is giving acceptance of the differences of others without judgment. In other words, it is a respect of diversity and making peace possible. How to be culturally responsive? How to be culturally responsive? The first one is it's about the ability to learn from and relate to people of your own culture as well as others. The second one is being culturally responsive requires openness to different viewpoints, thoughts, and experiences. And the third one is this is not about changing others to be more like you. Instead, it is about exploring and honoring the differences of others. Developing a cultural responsive attitude is a lifelong journey. So, the first one is developing cultural self-awareness. The meaning is, understanding your own cultural background is the first step to understand that others hold different values and beliefs and believe in them as much as you believe in yours. The second one is learn to appreciate and value diverse views. Do not judge views that differ from yours. Instead, just accept that they are different. The third one is avoid imposing your own values. Once you are aware of cultural differences, you may find that the cultural norms of some groups make you uncomfortable. Again, it is important to resist the urge to judge. Instead, make a conscious effort to understand the other perspective. And the last one is resist stereotyping. Avoid all stereotypes, whether negative or positive. Statements such as blondes are dumb or Asians are good at math will never be true of all individuals within that population. So there are two types of cultural tolerance. The first one is enculturation. To learn one's own culture, a process that is influenced strongly by home and family. Enculturation is the process by which an individual learns the norms and values of a culture through unconscious repetition. For example, parents have a strong influence in enculturation their children. Enculturation is not a deliberate or forced teaching to an individual, it comes through the interaction with people of the society. Culture includes social values, norms, art, beliefs, customs, traditions, food patterns, clothing styles, and many more things that are needed in order to survive in that particular society. So the second one is acculturation. To learn aspects of a culture other than one's own, particularly those aspects which will enable the individual to survive in that culture. Acculturation happens when two cultures meet together and when there is cultural interchange. It is cultural modification of an individual by adapting traits from another culture. It usually happens when individual gets exposure to more than one culture. Example, if you move to another country, you would need a year to acculturate in that society.
There are three things to keep in mind. First, people are not automatically the same and cannot be lumped together just because they have the same skin color, speak the same language, or come from the same country. Second, you cannot judge an individual based on the bad you hear about their religion or nationality in the media. Everyone is an individual who has their own freedom of choice. Third, when someone is culturally different, they are not bad just because they are different. They are just different, and that is all. There is nothing wrong with that. Race. Race essentially is the color of one's skin. There are numerous races in the world, more than most people have seen. Many people are genetically made up of more than one race. In the many parts of the world, one race dominates the population. Society has a tendency to judge people based on their race, and even look negatively upon people of certain race. People of a common race truly cannot be lumped together.
If people of a common race share common behavior or characteristic, it is only because of other common cultural elements unique to these areas where they live. It is not because of the skin color that is part of their heredity. Religion. Religion refers to one's spiritual belief and practice. There are numerous religions around the world. Religious differences can be a major cause of friction in the relationship between different people. But with proper tolerance, people of differing faith can get along successfully. Language, a great difficulty encountered when crossing international borders, and in some cases, even when remaining in one's own territory, is the difference in the language one speaks. The world is filled with thousands of languages. It is not possible for anyone to know all these languages, and anyone who is capable of speak more than one is extremely lucky. When two people have intersecting paths but do not speak a common language, this can be extremely frustrating. As much as one may wish to communicate with that person, the doors to such communications are locked. It is important to keep in mind that a language barrier is not anyone's fault. There is no immediate solution to the problems.
Indicators of intolerance. Indicators of intolerance. Intolerance can be divided into the following categories depending on the peculiarities of the social subjects practiced. Interpersonal, that is intolerant behavior between two children, between a person and a social group. For instance, when one person in the class is opposed to the rest of the class and vice versa. Intergroup, that is between different social groups. Social groups can be large or small, such as school classes, political parties, as well as groups of the rich and the poor, or social and financial classes, women and men, ethnic groups or nations and people, races, civilization, and so on. For example, large civilization or Western and Oriental, Christian and Muslim civilization, and so on, that have been developing for thousands of years will still last for a long time. Therefore, despite the differences between them, they must necessarily coexist. In the modern world, it's necessary to prevent the attempts of any civilization to take over the others, as well as any civilization's convictions that its principles and values are the only true one. No civilization in the world is superior to any other. There are certain principles, views, or religions believed in a civilization that are acceptable to those born into them, but not for other civilizations. And the last is intercountry. When the climate of intolerance exists between individual countries or between two different groups of countries. There are so many indicators of intolerance. Language, denigration and exclusive language that devalues, demeans, and dehumanizes cultural, racial, national, or sexual groups. Stereotyping, describing all members of a group as characterized by the same attributes and it's usually negative. Teasing, calling attention to particular human behavior patterns, attributes, and characteristics so as to ridicule or insult. Prejudice, judgment on the basis of negative generalization and stereotypes rather than on the actual facts of a case or specific behavior of an individual. Scapegoating, blaming traumatic events or social problems on a particular group. Discrimination, exclusion from social benefits and activities on primarily prejudicial grounds. Ostracism, behaving as if the others were not present or did not exist. Refusal to speak to or acknowledge others or their culture. harassment, deliberate behavior to intimidate and degrade others, often intended as a means of focusing them out of the community, organization, or group. Bullying, use of superior physical capacity or greater numbers to humiliate others, deprive them of priority or status, or force them into particular actions. And the last is expulsion, officially or forcefully expelling or denying right of entrance or presence in a place, social groups, profession, or any place where group activity occurs, including those upon which survival depends, such as places of employment or shelter, and so on. How to overcome intolerance? How to overcome intolerance? How to Be open-minded, express your opinion in a peaceful way, and eliminate stereotypes. What can we do to eliminate stereotypes in our life? 1. Focus on every person as an individual. 2. Become more aware of stereotypes and how they interfere with our ability to perceive and interact with people. 3. Remember that there are more differences within a group than between groups. And the last is recognize that we are all part of many groups, none of which can totally explain or define who we are. Show solidarity to victims of intolerance. Travel more. Traveling increases knowledge and widens our perspective. Learn to tolerate the different religions, beliefs, practices, and traditions. Respect other opinions even though you don't fully agree. Deliberately comment on the different situation regarding discrimination, and eliminate prejudice based on looks or racial traits. And then target the different zones where discrimination rates are high. Try to educate people when you have the change, and promote diversity among friends and family. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your